Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.
We're adding all these things, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're wants, right?
Wants and needs, and you and I talked about that.
And I'm amazed at how many people, since that was my slogan, right, have used that, and it's great. I love it. Like, steal it. It's yours.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. Well, it's been about 6 months since Kirby Schafer was here. At that time, you were a candidate for Medicine Hat City Council. You did not be elected, but you haven't walked away. You have started a Facebook page called Inspiring City Engagement, where you are keeping track of what's going on. And that's why we wanted you to come back to the porch to share your observations on this council, I suppose at the six month mark. So welcome, Kirby.
Thank you. Thank you very much for asking me to come too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, you and I were just talking, and the reason you set this up was so that people had a way to access information that wasn't biased, that was, you are keeping track of what's going on and trying to be positive. You're not negative, you're not attacking, you're just trying to inform people. And I guess the first question I would have for you is, 6 months in, what's your overall impression of how this council has worked together?
Working together, I would say, they're doing a really good job. They're trying to work as a team, especially from what happened 4 years previous. They didn't want a repeat of that. They've done a great job doing that. I think there's been a lot of surprises for them, a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that they really didn't know. I've heard that from a few that said the bureaucracy behind that they were totally unaware of. I think they're getting surprised by that. But in terms of them working together and seeming like a cohesive group, it seems like they're doing a very good job compared to the last 4 years, which is encouraging. And
you come at this from a different perspective because you're a long-time city employee, retired now.
Right. I worked at the city for 30 years at the electric distribution, and in those 30 years, probably half of it was I moved up into management and then into different roles in management until 2021 when my retirement was pushed forward, which I really appreciate. It's been an awesome time, but I miss it. I miss the people there. There's good people there, and I still keep in touch with them, and I lived it, and I've seen like I said during the election, the good times, the bad times, the hard times, but also had some great mentors and leaders that I worked under and learned a lot from.
I've said this to others that have been here on the porch talking about City Hall and city politics. I sometimes wonder about the people who are working in City Hall and they see all the vitriol on social media. It's got to be hard to keep a stiff upper lip and to be positive about what you're doing.
Yeah. One of the big things, like I noticed that when I worked at the city and you take phone calls from the public, a lot of times, people phoned in, they didn't want to hear excuses. They didn't want to hear, the reasons or whatever. They just wanted to vent. They're angry. They're upset. You let them vent. You discuss it with them, and by the end of the conversation, a lot of times they're apologizing that, maybe they came off a little gruff. It's good that, we're aware of it. We're doing something. A lot of times people just want information and they want to be heard. And if transparency was a huge part of this election. And, you don't give people transparency. That's when assumptions are made. That's when rumors start. That's when, the strife and uproar in the city comes and people start assuming and the negative comments come out. And like I say, with my page, it's hard. It is. It's hard not to be negative, but just state the problems rather than, okay, this wasn't maybe the right approach in my mind. They should have maybe tried this. And it just gets conversations started where all those ideas start coming out. And the more ideas you have, you come to a solution which is even greater than just one person making it. So
a collective decision.
Yeah.
What I find is that sometimes people get off on a tangent on social media on, like you said, disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I heard it from a friend who heard it from somebody who is in, get the facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you hear something, research it, look it up, and then try and find out as much information as you can. And if you can't, reach out and ask that question. I heard this. Is this true? Let somebody actually, give you the right information or defend or disprove that, no, that isn't the case, and try and get as much information as you can before you fly off the handle.
Yeah.
And cause more stress in your life than really you end up at the end of the day going, oh, half of that wasn't true, but it is hard and it does take time. But you know what? A lot of people they will do their research, and there's a number of people, and I won't name them, that are on social media, and I credit them. They've got some great information and it's accurate, and they've spent a lot of time, and people say, like, thank you for doing that. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, I really appreciate your page. Thanks for keeping us informed, and a lot of positive comments. And I mean, that's nice. It means I'm doing the right thing, and it's I'm not missing my target that I'm actually trying to do.
You don't have an axe to grind.
No, and honestly, people have said, I hope you run next time. 2029 is a long ways away. Life changes, and right now, that is not the reason why I started this page. I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not looking for votes. I'm not looking to show that I'm smarter than anybody else. I'm saying that I want to be part of the solution, and I want all the information so I know that, yeah, maybe this is the right way we're going, or maybe have you thought of this, and you can be part of the solution, rather than just sit in the background and, be that backseat driver.
Yeah. The first thing that this council had to deal with, almost right out of the gate, was the budget for 2026, and they were presented with this document. Tough for them to really know what's in it, especially the four who are first-time aldermen. Old term. Still hard to beat that.
I know. Counselor, yeah.
And your thoughts on how the budget came out. I know that some people hailed it as a win because it was only a 4.9% increase instead of 5.6 or even 6.1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was still an increase.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand costs go up. I mean, inflation is inflation, but there's parts of it that, if I owned a business, I would want my business to run successfully, and I don't have taxes to fall back on, right? So I need, if times are tough, if times are good, right? You run your business well, and you always look to get better. You always look for efficiencies. You look for, possible savings, and I agree. This last budget that came out, it was pointed out that it's a legacy. We walked into this. You did, but I have heard from a number of councillors, through the council meetings, that from this day forward, we're going to look at the next budget, and we're forming a committee, and we're going to go through it, fine-tooth comb, and look at all the expenses and see what we can do to make operational efficiencies, and not just dip into reserves, because we're over budget. And one of the glaring things that I saw and heard was there's two things with the budget. One is wages and salaries. They're huge. That's the biggest part of your budget, right? So you better hope that your staffing is accurate and justified, right? And so accurate work plans, where I know this year I have this much work, and here's how many employee hours I have. If I have way more employee hours than I have work, I'm overstaffed. If I don't have enough, okay, do we contract out? Is this sustainable work, or is this just a one-off? And this work needs to be done just once, not every year. If it needs to be done every year, okay, what's the cost to bring it in-house? What's the cost to contract it out, right? and make a decision. But that takes a lot of time and commitment. And when I first stepped into management, that was my role at Electric, was to come up with a work plan to justify those. So when we needed more staff, we had the proof, right? When we're asking. And
Where did that go?
I'd love to see if any department does accurate work plans like that, where they can justify when somebody says you're overstaffed.
Yeah.
No, I can show you we're not.
Our city hasn't grown that much over the last 10 years, but has the number of people working for the city of Medicine Hat kept pace with that, or is it bloated?
It's really hard to tell, because there have been people that have been looking into this and providing information and like updating people on, and they've asked for FTEs, PEPs, right?
Yeah.
Which is permanently established positions. FTEs are full-time equivalents. What are our numbers, right? Well, from 2015 till now, it's changed. It used to be permanently established positions. My position had a number and a title, right? And that was my jersey, as I called them during the election. We had jerseys, right? That's my jersey. And they were established, permanently established positions. They went away from that. They went to FTEs, right? Full-time equivalents. So it's hard to get an accurate number, because a full-time equivalent is an 8-hour day. Well, 3 people could fill to make one full-time equivalent, right? But are those 3 people needed? Do you know what I mean? And I've seen some reports, and because you have to, this person has asked for these, and it always comes down to FOIP. And so then she has to pay to get the information. Then she gets the information, and it says, we stopped reporting in this year on FTEs. And it's like, that raises a red flag. That makes people go, why did we stop reporting? Why aren't you telling us about this? Do you know what I mean? What are you hiding? Yeah. That's the first thing someone says. And trust is a hard thing. It really is. Yeah. Once you lose it, it's easy to lose it. Yeah. But it's hard to get back.
I know in reading one of your commentaries, it was your thought that perhaps there's too many managers at City Hall.
And not just City Hall. I'm talking just in general. I mean, I'm privy to information that I've seen through my career, and I've seen the org charts, and I've seen the areas swell, and I've seen the reporting structure. And you sort of sit back and go, you talk to other people. I mean, my brother worked at CF, at industries and stuff, and you talk to other people that are in large organizations, and they go, we have this many people reporting to us, 25 people reporting to us, and that report to me. I would love to see 25 people reporting to somebody in the org chart for the city of Medicine Hat. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not saying that those jobs, I'm not the smartest guy. I have all the answers that can say those jobs are justified. But what I'm asking is, show me that those jobs are needed, right? Yeah. And it has the frontline staff, the numbers, they haven't changed much. They really haven't. And those are the people that are out in the field doing the work, that is required for our city, right? Keep our infrastructure up and everything like that. Those numbers haven't grown. But I'll tell you what, the middle management ones have. And so tell me, what are they doing, right? What exactly are they doing, and what value are they adding to this organization for me to pay those kind of wages? And that's all I'm asking. I'm not saying that they're lying or anything like that. I want you to justify, and you're looking for operational efficiencies, as they said, with the budget, 1.1 million. We're going to try to find operational savings, or we might have to dip into reserves, right? It'll be interesting, and I am keeping an eye on, and I hope we get updates on what operational efficiencies they found. Yeah.
I think Councillor Young tried to find out those numbers in an open council meeting early on, and he ran into that roadblock.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of frustration because he's getting it from both sides, right? He's getting it from the public, and he's hearing even what I've said with, don't hold back information, right? And when I see a budget meeting at City Council and Councillor Young is being told, we don't debate things after the first reading. Well, that's not a law, right? That's just a kind of a
formality,
a rule.
courtesy.
Yeah, and you wait till second and third reading. But like he's saying, we're gonna hear it if we do not even say a word about this. Well, it went to second and third reading, and I only saw 2 or 3 councillors speak up. There's 5 more, and they didn't even let you know what their position was. Did they want 6.1? Did they want 0? All you saw was yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But none of the no's really explained themselves and said, here's why I voted no, because I wanted it higher. I wanted it lower. And when you don't explain yourself, people can start assuming, right?
Yeah. Let's pause for a moment so we can share some exciting news. We're proud to announce that our work here at Bring Back the Porch is getting noticed. From October to the end of January, our videos and reels viewed more than 1 million times. Some of those viewers could be your customers, so sponsoring Bring Back the Porch is a great way to get your message in front of them too. If you'd like to support our work here at Bring Back the Porch, we ask you to go to our website at bringbacktheporch.com and follow the links. Thank you for your support. One of the things that I really watched was when they voted to approve funding for the first phase of the Samus Solar Park. During the election, we heard many people say, I'm against this, I will vote against this. And then when it came to a vote, 8, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was like watching a poker game where you and I are playing cards, and I'm a lousy card player, but I know what's in your hand. Mm-hmm. So it's easy for me to make that play then. I think that they know something about a potential buyer that we don't know yet. That's the only reason that I can think of that you would go 8-0 and approve something that you just a month ago were dead set against.
Well, and I went to that council meeting, and there was a couple things said that when they were said, ooh, you didn't just say that, and I thought people were it was like when Melvin Marshall used to play for the Mesnat Tigers and his brother climbed the boards and started fighting on the ice with his brother. I thought people were coming over and going to storm the horseshoe when those comments were made. And I was like, this is not good. This meeting needs to end because it's not productive at all. And in that meeting, like I heard, read this 1C of the motion. Just sit back, read it, absorb it, like really think about it, let it sink in. And it was the part about we're not going to move forward unless we have a buyer, okay? To me, my assumption from what I've heard and what I heard was the thing that is holding us back is the city needs to make a decision. Are we going to fund this and build it, right? And if we do, we'll have a contract in place. There's a customer waiting. They're just waiting for the city to move forward. Mm-hmm. Well, it's been how many months?
Yeah.
So are they struggling to find a pen? Sorry for my sarcasm, but I'll get them a pen. Why isn't somebody signed on the dotted line? Well, then I did see your interview with Councillor Clugston,
yep.
And he said there could possibly be 2. And it's like,
that's even better.
What is the holdup here? So why haven't we signed this yet?
Yeah.
And what bothers me is we borrowed $67 million. $67 million's coming from reserves, right? Well, that $67 million has an interest rate attached to it. And every month we wait, we're paying interest on that money that isn't doing anything. And so, and no update. No update. We're still in negotiations. We're still working out the fine details, whatever. The public was, as far as I'm concerned, was informed that the stumbling block here was the city needed to make a decision. And then everything would just flow. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the holdup? Yeah. What is holding this up? And it'll be interesting to see for sure. Because I don't know, do you give the money back? Do you not move forward? Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting.
Transportation Master Plan is another one that is working its way through City Hall, and a lot of people are upset. They don't want to see Riverside happen, what happened in Division Avenue South happen in Riverside with these traffic calming measures. Some people already say it's a fait accompli. Be interesting to watch that over the next 6 months, perhaps.
Yeah, and Riverside formed a group, a community group. Marla Howard is sort of leading that charge, and she reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in coming and being part of their meetings and share ideas. And I was honored that she asked me, and I went to their very first meeting, and Councillor Hellman and Young attended as well. They were fantastic at this meeting. They heard the concerns. They asked for clarity on their concerns, which meant they were listening. They were writing things down. They were adding comments. We'll get you answers where we can, and tried to get some of their ideas. It was a really productive first meeting, and I said to Marla, you guys are on the right track. This is a great group, all genuine people. There's no hidden agendas here. They just want the best for their community, but they also want to know why. That was the main question. Why are you looking at these? We get the traffic calming. It's a speedway, but why the bump outs? Why the narrowing? What's the reasoning behind it? And when people ask why, you should be saying, we need to get better at communicating. We really do. We're not giving the right information. Change management, first thing you do is you find your biggest people it's going to affect, and they get the most information. That's, and if you want it to run smoothly, that'll give you good change management, right? And it shows a flaw. And I think Councillor Young and Hellman saw that. But now I'm reading her page, and they're having a barbecue in May here that I'm going to attend. I'm going to go down for it. The city is going to be there. They're going to be answering questions, showing things. And yeah, it'll be interesting. May 27th, I think that barbecue is.
And I wonder what the province is now sending up smoke signals that they may want to have an impact on bicycle lanes. And Calgary and Edmonton are opposed in opposite directions to that. So that might also affect what happens in Riverside.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's, like I say, I haven't heard a good reason for it. I haven't heard, what the reasoning behind it is to have these bicycle lanes. I mean, I think about when I was younger, and I lived in Crescent Heights, northeast Crescent Heights, and I drove to the motocross track north of the power plant on my bike. How did I get there? How did I ever, as a kid, get all the way across town on my bike? We didn't have bike paths back then.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
We didn't even have a trail system like Mayor Grimm built for us. And it's an amazing trail system. And there is an amazing trail that goes right along the river all the way to the power plant in Riverside. So I'm not sure. And that's what these people are saying is why? And they're not getting the answers, and the clear answers. Just say it as it is. Don't try to wishy-wash it and I don't want to quite. Just say it as it is and get the conversation going. And people, they'll either be accepting to it or they'll still not like it. You're never going to make everybody happy, but in the long run, it was the right thing to do because we had the most input. We had all the idea sharing, and we had people being committed to wanting it to work, instead of just this was rammed down our throat.
Yeah. The Court of Public Opinion has come down on the discussions that the time it took to talk about the urban hen bylaw. I think they probably spent more time on that than they did on the budget. And also now allowing liquor in parks. A lot of people are upset with that too.
Yeah, no, and I've had probably in the last week, I golf a lot. And just the number of people that have come up to me and said, I didn't see a lot of comments from you on the urban hens and the drinking in parks. And, there was really very little said about, and I said, well, honestly, we have way bigger fish to fry right now than those kind of issues. To me, that's noise. That's like, we need to still pay attention to this, because this affects this. I mean, the urban hens it's going to cost, I'm not sure how many, they're going to put a budget towards it. Well, if you put a budget towards it, it affects the budget, right? So, and we haven't figured this out yet. And so we're adding all these things, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're wants, right?
Wants and needs, and you and I talked about that.
And I'm amazed at how many people, since that was my slogan, right, have used that. And it's great. I love it. Like, steal it. It's yours, because I need people to think about that more often. Just not, this is a nice thing to have. No, I need this to have, and it's nice to see that people are putting focus on that. And a lot of people are saying to me, like, I can't believe how much time they spent on urban hens and drinking in parks, and the conversation amongst council. And then when the budget comes, you can hear crickets, and no one's really saying anything and being like, give information and stuff. And I said, yeah, it's disheartening. Like, am I going to hold that against this council and crucify them for it? No. There's some things you can talk about. There's some things you can't, even with the budget. But like the talk that went on about this, I don't even want to comment on that. Okay. I'm not getting any chickens. I really don't care if I can have a beer in Kincooley Park. Honestly, it's not at the top of my priority list right now.
Whistleblower policy has been brought in. Your thoughts?
Well, from the information that I seen online, it was almost like the Epstein files. Like, when it started coming out and Nicole Fry started releasing some of this, and you read it and you go, if this is true, like, if there are people that and I trust her, that she's not spreading disinformation, because that could really come back to bite her. I mean, there would be lawsuits like crazy with what she's saying. And so I believe she's a very smart, factual person that gets all the information that she can before she ever publishes something. And some of those that came out, I mean, they're borderline criminal. Like, there needs to be a review. This whistleblower policy, my biggest question on it is, it's awesome that they're finally getting it in there. They're expanding it. They're making it work, right? Or try to make it work. My question is, are they going to allow all these ones when we didn't have a whistleblower? Are they going to investigate these? Are they going to give it to the third party and say, all these things that have been shown, are we going to review those? I hope the answer is yes, because I think there's been some stuff. If this is true, like, it's really disturbing that went on. When I read those, I went, oh my, like, this is not good, because there is some borderline shady, like, illegal stuff. Like, that's fraud. Some of that stuff is fraud as far as I'm concerned. I might be wrong, but when I read it, I go, I would never, if in being in a position of power, I would never do that, because I know it's not right. Like, and she's got some powerful information there, and it'll be interesting to see, now that they've got it set up, just how it works.
How has the interaction between yourself and some of the councillors been since you started this page? Because you got to know many of them when you were all in the campaign. Mm-hmm. So they know you're not a three-headed monster. Yeah,
and I'm not trying to make them look bad, and I stress that to who I've talked to. I'm not trying to make you look bad so that I can show people they made the wrong decision and I should have been elected. The vote was there. The vote was made. I live with the results. I'm very proud of how I did. I was very proud of the votes I received. Considering I had no signs, I had no pamphlets, it was word of mouth. People, you want to know, ask me. And a lot of people did. And I've talked to some of the councillors. They've reached out to me. They've commented on my page. Even some that didn't get elected as well. I've still in contact with. We challenge each other. They may not have the same side of the opinion that I have, but we have really good conversations. I see their point, they see part of mine, and they're still involved as well. There's still lots of people that ran, and good on them. They show that they really cared, and they still care, like similar to what I do too, right? And so their heart's in the right place, and yeah, it's been really positive. I mean, I've had, like I say, there's been a few that have reached out. They've asked my opinion. Can I give you, can we stay in touch, have coffee sometime? Hey, sounds good. Anytime. Like, I'm available. I'll help you in any way, shape, or form I can.
What do you see happening in the next 6 months for this council?
A lot of work. There's going to be a lot of work. That budget review committee is going to be, there is a lot of lines to go through, and very vague lines, contracted services. What is that? What does that all entail? And yeah, there's a lot of lines to go through and a lot of questions to ask, and naturally they won't have the answers. We'll get back to you on that. We'll get you that information, which drags it out even longer. And it's going to be a long process for sure. And then on top of everything else, right? I mean, they've got a pool and sports fields to worry about. That's the next thing that's going to come up, because people are going to go, what's up with that? When's that starting? And,
Can we afford it?
And and some people are going to want it irregardless. Yeah. I have lots of money. I don't care. Build it.
Yeah.
Well, think of others,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Another thing that is going to be coming to council here in the latter part of May is a $21.5 million budget amendment for some substation work. And I watched that meeting with the Energy Committee, and hearing how prices for parts have, I guess, skyrocketed because AI is blowing everything out of the water, demand. But also some of these facilities that they are looking at, the parts are 40 to 45 years old, and they don't even make them anymore. So that's going to be a hard decision.
Yeah, the new substation,
Well, this is just to fix up some of the ones now that we have. And I look at that and I ask myself, how did we get to this state of disrepair? Was it because of the political, I guess, temperature at the time? Well, the public won't go for paying for this now, so we'll just put it on the back burner. But sooner or later, the old STP commercial, pay me now, pay me later.
Yeah, and yeah. The funny thing about that is, so we have a ring that goes around the city, right? And it was 69 kV, right? That was the voltage. And it connects all the substations with the power plant. And that ring has been upgraded from North Industrial to the power plant to Southridge. That has been upgraded now to 138 kV, right? New transformers were purchased. And the next phase is what they're going to be dealing with this council. They're looking at now doing the remaining part of the ring, right? From Southridge to Northeast Crescent Heights, and Northeast Crescent Heights to North Industrial Substation. And all those transformers have to be purchased. All the protection in those substations have to be upgraded. A lot of work has to be done, right? All the poles and insulators and everything, the lines. And so why are we spending money replacing transformers that are in a 69 kV substation, and in the same breath going to be asking to upgrade them? Are you telling me they can't last until, and if they can't, then maybe that's the first section to do, right? It's kind of like putting new mag wheels on your old car and then going, but I'm gonna take it to the auto wreckers because it's falling apart, and I'm gonna buy a new one. But I'm gonna make it look pretty. I want
it to look good now. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, so again, show me the justification behind this. And if this was the case, then why didn't we fast track upgrading the ring? Then we don't have to buy these extra parts, and they only are put in there for 2 or 3 years until we upgrade the ring. Then what do we do with them? And I was in procurement with the electric department before, at the end of my career, and I handled our working with salespeople, phoning for material for projects. I worked with our stores department, our purchasing department, handled our inventory, kept it efficient, and made sure we had the parts in place in case something happened, right? Our min-maxes, all that stuff. And I know about lead times. I know about the lead, all that stuff. It's not a surprise. COVID, like a normal underground transformer for City Electric was 4 to 6 weeks, right? Then COVID hit, and then I got let go in March, and I'm talking to suppliers, and they're going, and even City Stores was phoning me, and I didn't work for them anymore, and they're going, who did you contact here? Like, who's your contact? And what's going on? And then I have friends that were salespeople. I consider them friends. And they were telling me transformers are now 128 weeks. Well, now they're even more, because my wife works for a power utility company in town here that services the rural. And she's telling me about how long lead times are and stuff. And I was like amazed, but it's not a shock, right? And so deal with it, adapt or die. And figure out solutions on, okay, if this does take that long, how can we mitigate that, right? Instead of just accepting it. And a lot of times, I'd phone suppliers and say, we have a specified power pole that burned down at the power plant, and it's not something they stock, right? And so I phoned our supplier and I said, this is an emergency. Like, we need this pole or half of our city's going to be out of power. How fast can you get it to us? Let me make a couple phone calls. Right? They just talk to something. We can have it to you by tomorrow morning. We'll expedite it. And it's like, thank you very much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that takes work, and that takes, you just...
building relationships.
Right. And so, it shouldn't be a shock, and you can't use it as an excuse. It's a sign of the times, and how are you going to deal with it? You can't just keep, well, it's because of this. It's because of well, what have you done to mitigate this? Like, I agree with you, it is, but some of these upgrades, like you're talking about, I heard that probably a couple months ago from having coffee with somebody that, and they told me about it, and I went, are you kidding me? They're thinking of doing this? And I never said anything, and now you're bringing it up, and I'm going, okay, it is rearing its ugly head now, so it'll be interesting, because the public really doesn't know. You know what I mean? Like, they're not educated in it, and they just go, well, I guess if we need it, it'll be interesting.
The Facebook group is called Inspiring City Engagement. Kirby Schafer is trying to keep, right on the herd, and we'll watch closely over the next 6 months.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, like I say, I just want to keep people informed, positive, and make it as much of a positive group as I can, and just keep people informed and keep me informed. So hopefully people enjoy it, and if you don't, let me know how I can make it better.
Kirby, thanks for the time.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me, Brian.
Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.